Fantasy football, RSVP. So let's get right to it. Go deep. Let's get right to it with Week 11, fantasy football. We love fantasy football. What I like really this week is Tua Tagovailoa of the Dolphins. The guy looks like he's coming on. The defense is playing well. The offense is playing well. I mean, the guy looks like he's getting more comfortable every single week. I really like him this week. Tua Tagovailoa, I think he's going to do really well. He's getting. It's just if it's PPR. First of all, let's say it straight out. I am a PPR redraft specialist. That's what I do. Doesn't mean you can't take my information and use it elsewhere. It doesn't mean that. It's just that you should really specialize in a certain area. And that's kind of my specialty, okay? And so when I give advice, people are like, oh, can you give advice for standard? Yeah, can you give advice for, dynasty? That you can't, okay? This is my specialty. Redraft, PPR, okay? And you can use all my advice for different things, but that is my area of expertise, and I stay in my own lane, okay? So I really like Tua Tagovailoa. I think the guy's really coming on. In PPR, he gets you those leg points. I mean, he's going to get you 5-6 points a game just in running the ball, okay? Might even get a rushing touchdown on top of it. But the guy's looking healthy, looking more comfortable every single week. I really, really love him. And he's playing at Denver. Denver, has been kind of struggling the last few weeks, So I really like Tua Tagovailoa. And getting used to saying his name, too. And I really think that the Dolphins as a whole, and, they got a couple of easy games coming up, So Tua might be a nice play for like a couple of weeks. And the Dolphins defense is giving them a lot of opportunities. I really like what's going on there. So I really like that, okay? As far as what else is going on, as quarterback, we always go with like two quarterbacks. I think that I really like Phillip Rivers, okay? I really do. It's versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati's, they're giving up some points. A lot of shootout kind of games. Cincinnati's definitely a team, heading in the right direction. But I really, their receivers are all getting healthy at the same time. They got Pascal, they got Pittman, they got Hilton. And we're going to talk about Pittman in a little bit. For wide receivers, but I really kind of like what's going on there. They're getting healthier. They're playing really good defense. Phillip Rivers, he's in a new system, and Phillip Rivers is sort of like a better quarterback as the year goes on. New system. He's starting to look comfortable. He's starting to hit the 300, yards a game, each time, and this is a nice matchup for him. And Phillip Rivers is Phillip Rivers. They're starting to run the ball a little with Nyheim Hines, which we're going to talk about. A little bit of a Colts theory here on Week 11. That's what we do here. We kind of think outside the box. I really like what's going on with the Colts team. I like what's going on with the offense. I like what's going on with the defense. And when a team's playing good football, the fantasy football numbers are there. And I really believe that. I believe in playing trends. I believe you should always play trends. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Take a case like Aguilar. He was trending up. And you play that trend out. And, I was thinking he would have a good week this weekend. He wasn't targeted that much. Maybe he was a little banged up. But, now the trend's off. But you could have rode Aguilar for a little bit there. And that's sort of how you have to play fantasy football. You play the trends until they buck you, and that's kind of how it has to go. As far as running backs, I really like Salman Ahmed of the Dolphins. And again, I just like the Dolphins. I've been telling people for almost 4 or 5 weeks now, Dolphins might win the division. Dolphins are going to win the division. I'm like, they won one in a row. Dolphins might win that division. I mean, their team is pretty good. People are saying they're not going to win the division. They won 2 in a row. So the Dolphins are really playing well. They're not playing that well. Dolphins win 3. Now they win like 4 or 5 in a row. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, and they have a few easy games coming up. And the team is just looking good. They're looking good on defense. They're looking good on special team. And when a team looks good on offense, when you have 3 phases of the game playing that well, like the Colts, like the Dolphins, That's the type of fantasy formula you want. I'm giving away pearls here. These are secrets. A lot of people don't know this, but when you see a team starting to play in all three phases of the game well, it means better opportunities, better field position with special teams, defense, doesn't get worn out. And the defense doesn't get worn out when the offense is playing well and vice versa. The defense gives you more opportunities. And right now, the defense is giving the Colts and defense giving the Dolphins a lot of extra opportunities. And those extra opportunities, okay, we think a lot of outside the box here. That's what we do here. We think outside the box. Go deep. We think outside the box. That's what we do here. And, we just want to, when a team's performing on three phases of the game like this, three phases, okay, that works well for fantasy football, okay? It means better field position, okay? It means more opportunities on offense, better position with special teams on offense, and that's what's going on here, and you got to ride that. So Dolphins are for real. I don't care what. And this guy, I watched this guy run, okay? Salman Ahmed, I watched this guy run. I was like, whoa, this guy's got something. He sort of like did a little shake and bake, like into the end zone, and he's just got good balance. And he got 21 rushes, for 85 yards. They even threw it to him once, So I really like, Gaskin out. I really like this Salman Ahmed. Really good play. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. And Nyheim Hines, I'm starting to become a believer. And I'm one of those people, convince me before I play you. That's what I always tell people. They're like, oh, should I try this guy this week? And I'm like, well, let him prove himself, before you play him. I'd rather be a week late, playing a guy than a week early and, you get a low number. Because once guys get rolling, that is when you play them. A lot of people try in fantasy football to play the guessing game. This guy's coming in, I think, hasn't even had a big game yet. Like, this is the game he's going to break out. I'm like, never predict a breakout game, okay? Never predict the breakout game. Play the game after the breakout game, okay? I've seen many people lose their week badly because they predicted this was the week. And you have to wait. You got to be... let me say something here, okay? Go deep. Let me say something here. Fantasy football. How you win fantasy football. I'm going to give you the secret to fantasy football right now. The secret, okay? The secret. First of all, I'll preface it with saying never panic. Never panic. In fantasy football, I've seen more people fall on tilt. Do you know what tilt is? Let me tell you what tilt is. You ever playing the pinball machine, you're hitting all the buttons, and you're really rocking the machine, all of a sudden it goes tilt, and nothing works, and the balls just go down the drain? That's called tilt. So there's such a thing as a fantasy football tilt, meaning a team owner is on tilt. And when they're on tilt, they make bad decisions in putting in their lineup. They make bad decisions in trades. They make bad decisions in I don't know, in waivers. They make bad decisions in dropping people because they're on tilt. Okay, and that's something you never want to do. Okay, you never. Well, let's just talk about this. You never want to panic in fantasy football, no matter what. Keep your mind, shake it off, have a short memory, okay? Don't get on tilt and start making emotional decisions. I know this might sound, crazy, but people do this. And most of all, be patient, okay? Be patient, be calm. Fantasy football, the secret to fantasy football, in my opinion, secret to fantasy football is staying calm, making rational decisions, okay? Making smart decisions, okay? When people start getting a little panicky, okay, and they lose their patience and they start, I lost 2 or 3 in a row. I see people crumble all the time. And that's why I love what I do, because I calm people down, okay? I'm like the fantasy football doctor, okay? The doctor is in the house. Doctor's in the house. Go deep. And what I'm saying is, don't panic. Stay calm. Keep your composure. Okay? Keep your composure. Right now, one of my teams, I'm looking for a tight end because I keep having tight ends not perform, or they, putting up, lower numbers, and I have to find a tight end before the season's up. It's okay. It's okay. I'll look. I'll wait. I still got 4 or 5 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, 4 weeks, whatever, before the end of the season. And I'm like, I'll find a tight end. I'm gonna, or I'll find a tight end that I think is gonna grow into something in 2 or 3 weeks, and I have patience with that decision. And that's what you got to do with fantasy football. Okay. So as far as Salman Ahmed, I like him. Running backs. That's the secret of fantasy football. Stay calm. Be patient. Okay. Don't go on tilt. Don't go on tilt. Now, as far as Nyheim Hines, he's made me a believer. And I'd rather be a week late than a week early. But now what I saw last week was a little different. What I saw was over what I'm looking for in a running back. I don't care if his numbers are high. I don't care. What I want to see is more than 5 carries. What I want to see is more than 7 carries. I don't care if overall people, oh, he's doing this and that. The guy's got to be, if I'm plugging a guy in my lineup, he can't just be catching the ball. You know what I'm saying? He's got to have at least a dozen carries. And last week, everyone's asking me about him. I'm like, don't play him until he has a dozen carries. Well, last week he had a dozen carries. He had 12 carries for 70 yards. And he had his normal 5, receptions for 45 yards. He's been doing that. But when a guy starts getting 12 carries, it starts to tell me, you know what? I think we're seeing a change of the guard. They're giving this guy a dozen times. They're starting to trust him to run the ball. And that is when I start to believe in a player, okay? And so I'd rather be a week late than a week. Once I see that sign, I'm all in on Nyheim Hines, okay? And look, Michael Jordan, even loses shots, misses shots from time to time. I'm not going to get everything right, okay? It's funny in my social media, I always laugh because I don't remember what week it was. I think it was 2 weeks ago. It was probably my best week predicting. I must have predicted 500 things to happen on my social media platform, and 499 of them happened right. You know what I'm saying? And the one thing I got wrong, I get a message from the person, you were wrong on this. And it's fun. Look, you got to take it on the chin. It's fantasy football, And I'm glad to have that follower, and he always contacts me all the time, and all that stuff. But I'm just I couldn't believe, because that was literally the 1 week in the last 8 years that I was like, I can't believe I predicted so many things right this week. I was like, oh, it was almost perfect. Let me know. It's just funny, But look, I'm not going to be right every time, but I'm going to be right most of the time. Okay, because I'm smart and I use my brain. I think outside the box, and that's what it's about. And I'm patient, and I don't panic, and I never go on tilt. Okay, and that's how I get people so many times in fantasy football. My own league. And other people do. I give advice. I'm like, don't panic. I see people. They're starting to panic. Oh, should I make this trade? Oh, should I drop this guy? I'm like, relax. Okay? Things will start to improve. Things will start to come around. A player who's not performing, for the first 4 or 5 weeks, people are like, oh my God, And I'm just like, hold on a second. CJ more of the Panthers, perfect example. People are like, I'm ready to dump, I can't get it. And now all of a sudden the guy's performing. I'm like, I told you this guy was going to perform. You just got to give guys a chance, okay? So Josh Reynolds of the Rams, really like him. Why do I like Josh Reynolds? Okay, I've been telling people to back off Woods. What I have been seeing, okay, it's a spread offense. The spread offense in the Rams, trying to spread the ball around, get more people involved. But I've seen an alarming statistic. Okay, I could be an analytics guy. I could be an old school guy. I could be this. I could be that. I could go up, down. I could go sideways. It doesn't matter. Go deep. And what I'm saying is, Josh Reynolds. The trend I'm seeing is the targets on Woods are starting to go down. Maybe not 2 weeks ago, or whatever, but overall. They're starting to use Woods more as a decoy. And what I'm starting to see, and Woods is very fast, and he attracts a lot of attention, sort of like Evans of the Bucs. And they're using him as decoy. What I'm starting to see with Josh Reynolds, again, a sign. Josh Reynolds is always catching the ball. It's Josh Reynolds. Throw me the ball. I'm going to catch it. Here it is. Woo. Go deep. Go deep. He catches it. I get that. But when I start seeing his targets go up, okay, his targets go up, I say, you know something? This guy just got thrown, 8, let me see. He just got thrown 8 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets, last 3 games. So I've seen 8 targets. I go, That's interesting. Got 8 targets. It's interesting. Next week, 9 targets. Now I'm starting to see 10 targets. That's what I'm looking at. I don't care how many times he catches the ball. 2 times, who cares? Okay? What I do know is when the targets are there, the receptions will come. So always in fantasy football, don't look if the receptions are going up. Okay? Always look if the targets are going up. Okay? Because that's the most important thing. When a guy gets 8, 9, 10 targets, I'm like, you know what? They're starting to showcase this guy. Okay? And, he had 8 receptions off 10 targets, but the other times he had 8 and 9 targets, he only had 4 receptions both times. But I didn't pay attention to that. Okay, 4 receptions, 50 yards. It's not terrible. But what I noticed a few weeks ago, no, they threw it to him 8 times or something. Threw it to him 9 times, still 4 receptions, and I'm like, this is a guy I'm picking up in my league because I said eventually the reception's going to be there. So what happens this week? Presto, bango. 10 targets, and he had 8 receptions. And that's what's going to happen. And that's why you follow the target. So I really like Josh Reynolds. I like what's going on there. Yes, they're going against Tampa Bay, but it's fine, okay? People have been throwing the ball against them too. So running the ball is a little different story. Now, as far as the Colts, I really like Michael Pittman, okay? Here, perfect example. All right, and this is what we're going to talk about this week. Think outside the box. That's why I feel my show's different, because we're always talking about something different here. We're not just talking about, I really like his numbers. We got 10 receptions and 40. He's really strong. No, I don't care about that. I don't care about that. What I care about is this guy, Michael Pittman, 2 weeks ago had 4 receptions, right? But he had 8 targets. And he had 4 receptions, 6. I was like, wow, this guy got 8 targets. I was like, if this guy gets 10, if he gets over 8 targets again or close to that, I'm going to pay attention because his receptions are going to go up. That's how you have to think in fantasy football. If you want to win, that's how you have to do. Everyone follows this show wins, okay? That's just a fact, okay? And I'm not saying I'm smarter than everyone else, but you know what? I am smarter than everyone else. No. What I'm saying is, okay, I think differently. And these little things that I point out all the time, okay, about being patient, about following the targets, not so much the reception, like all the different things. Don't even get me started on injuries. I've been a personal trainer for 30 years, okay, dealing with post-rehabilitation injury. So that's a whole nother angle that I'm going to give you. And I'm a massage therapist. You know what I'm saying? And I'm in school to become a physical therapist. I understand, okay, injuries a little better than most, and that's important because they don't tell you everything in the injury report. So you need someone to give you a little extra inside information. It's interesting because there's a lot of guessing involved in that, okay? And you want someone that you're going to guess with that knows what the hell they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So where we're going from here is Michael Pittman. Guy has 8 targets right away. Now, most people looked at him like, four catches, 65 yards. Didn't even notice. I was just noticing, I study all these guys. I study numbers all around the clock. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm studying numbers, okay? Like coaches, studying like game film. I'm studying numbers, okay? I take this stuff serious. And what I'm saying is, I watched it, I was like, ooh, wow, this guy got 8 targets. That's what I noticed it. I bet no one else noticed that he got 8 targets. They saw 4 receptions. He's not being used. I saw this guy numbers jump from lower, 4 or 5 targets. I was like, wow, he's getting 8 targets now. No kidding. Sure enough, I was like, let's see what happens next week. This week he gets 7 targets, okay? But it's for 101 yards, okay? And that's my point, okay? 7 targets, catch the ball 7 times, 7 to 101 yards. When the targets are there, the receptions will follow. Because now it's 2 weeks in a row. I want this guy in my lineup. Michael Pittman, I want you in my lineup. I want you in my lineup, Michael Pittman. Okay, and that's how you have to think. Go deep. And what I'm saying is you got to start thinking a little differently because the competition you face, everyone's following the same, everyone's doing the same thing. These little things that I'm telling you, these little things that I'm telling you right now, those little things add up into a lot. Those little things add up into a trophy. Okay, and I play in my own league against guys I've been playing with for years. And let me tell you something. Yes, I'm the fantasy football podcaster. I have a top show on Messy.fm. We're actually the top show right now. Okay, and that's great. But the guys I play with are pit bulls, and they all know what they're doing, and they all know what they're talking about. And they all watch my show, so of course they know every secret I have. Okay, and I have to play against these, and these guys are like professional fantasy football players. But I still have to try to outthink these guys. And these guys, so these little things sort of add up. And might I just say, read the weather report, okay? Read the weather report. I can't say this enough, how many fantasy football players, especially in the second half of the season, when you start dealing with bigger rains and snow and wind, which pick up later in the season, in the fall winds, okay? And the winter winds. Start paying attention to the weather report. Don't play kickers that are playing in bad weather. You know what I'm saying? Don't play quarterbacks that are playing in bad weather. Just like this past week, just like the week before. If you know it's going to rain, okay, like it's going to rain in freaking, New England, don't be playing quarterbacks. Don't play wide receivers. You can play running backs. Okay, but these are the things you got to know. And those things, again, another piece of information. I can't believe, I'd say 90% of the people that play fantasy football do not read the fantasy football weather report. Just putting most affected games, fantasy football, NFL Week 10, it'll tell you the games that are most affected. And that's very, very important. I see guys all the time playing guys. I'm like, do they not know that there's like 30 to 40 mile per hour, wind gusts in that game, and they're playing their wide receiver because he's Julio Jones? Who cares if he's Julio Jones? I'm not playing Julio Jones if that's 40 mile per hour winds. Okay, that's just not using your brain. Okay, you got to use your brain. People are stubborn. They're just like, I'm playing Michael Thomas, and it's like snow, sleet, and 35 mile per hour winds. You're not playing Michael Thomas. You're sitting there. Okay, and people just get stubborn. They panic, and they don't think. What was the word I said today? They don't stay calm. They don't make rational decisions. That's a rational decision. You don't pick Michael Thomas in 40-degree, with sleet. You just don't do it. You don't play the quarterback either. Okay, so yeah, I really like Michael Pittman. The guy's coming on. He's very big. He's very fast. Okay, and he's one of those like tall, fast receivers. I really like this guy. Now, as far as this next recommendation sounds a little weird. I'm actually going to recommend Dalton Schultz, the Cowboys. The reason why, and granted, it would be even a stronger recommendation if I knew Dalton was playing this week. And people ask me a lot about Amari Cooper, and I'm like, I think Cooper's numbers will go up with Dalton. I'm not saying I'm a huge Dalton fan. I just think that in a case like Amari Cooper, I think the numbers will be there. Guy always threw it to AJ Green, no problem. And so I think the numbers will be there. And the last 2 weeks he didn't play. And Dalton Schultz's numbers were really strong, but most of all, he was getting 7 and 8 targets and 4 and 6 receptions. If you want a guy, and at this point, points are important. If you have a guy that could give you 10 points at tight end, take him. Okay, and right now, Dalton Schultz is getting his 4 or 5 receptions, and he's getting his 40 or 50 yards. He could get you 10 or 11 points. It's better than a 2. And this year I got to be straight with you guys. Okay, got to be straight with you guys and gals. All right, 10 points is what you should be shooting for at tight end. That's it. 10 points, unless it's Kelsey. 10 points. Not who can get me 18, who can get me 20. That's, again, where you make a mistake. When choosing tight end, say, that guy has good games. Evan Engram, perfect example. The guys go, it's Evan Engram. He's putting up 18, 17. Everyone was all in on Evan Engram. You know what I said? And I'm a Giant fan. Okay, I'm glad they won. And I like Engram. But I said, don't play. And they're like, why? I'm like, don't play Evan. You play him, he's going to put up a 2 or a 3. And I don't have the number right in front of me, but it was a low. It was like a low number. I'm like, here we go again. Evan Engram. I was like, this is why I say he's a boom or a plus player. What I would have told you is play Hunter Henry. The guy will give you, he's not going to give you 20, he's not going to give you 18, but he'll give you 10. He'll give you 12. And, sure enough, he did. And right now, that's what Dalton Schultz is doing, okay, with backups. If Dalton's in there, I think his numbers will even be higher. And actually, his numbers have been pretty good all year. But this is a guy, sometimes 10 is good enough, okay? 10, and that's how you have to think at tight ends this year because it's so thin. As far as, well, we could go Ryan Suckup if you want for the, I did mention Ryan Suckup on my earlier podcast. Even against the Rams, strong defense. So I guess we just go with Ryan Suckup. But I have a feeling he's not available in most leagues, okay? So I'll give you an extra one. I sort of like Zane Gonzalez against the Cards because he's going up against Seattle. And Seattle's defense, and I like Seattle. I like the team. But, on this show, look, I could have, a guy, a professional Seattle player who likes watching my show. So no offense, buddy. But your defense is not playing well. I call it straight. It's one thing on my show, I call it straight. If defense was playing well, and I actually am a Seattle Seahawks fan, so I want to see him do well. But, if I was talking to the coach, and coach plays fans, and was watching my show, I'd say, your defense is playing awful. They're playing awful. And I call it straight. It's no disrespect. People want the truth on the show. And right now they're playing well. And the Cards are playing well. And Zane Gonzalez is really playing well. So you could play Suckup. It's not available. Go Zane Gonzalez. Okay? As far as defense, it gets a little tricky. I'm not going to say play the Chargers defense because every week, I'm getting in the habit of picking who's ever playing the Jets. And I'm a New York, resident. So, of course, I personally root for the Jets. And, but every week you can't keep saying, whoever the Jets are playing because now you have everyone doing that. And, it's not really good information because some players are stacked up with defenses that are all Jets. So I have to give something outside of the Jets. So there's a few games out there, but one of the games I think I might like is the Vikings, okay, because they're playing the Cowboys. And they're playing at home, and the Vikings actually, so a strange thing about the Vikings, they actually have a really good defense, or they have good defensive players, but they're not really playing great defense. And that was typical of a lot of teams the first 8 games of the season. Why? Because there was no preseason. Okay, there was no preseason. And I think, I see some things that I like, not so much in the box score, but I actually watched the games. I tell people, another fantasy football trick, tape all the games, and when you have some time at night, watch them. The next game, watch, and just fast forward. So the game only takes 45 minutes to watch. Fast forward to next week. You got to start watching the games in fantasy football because the box score and highlights don't tell everything. So I'm watching things on the Vikings defense, not in the box score, that I actually like. Okay, I like what's kind of coming together there. And I think they're coming together a good time, and the Cowboys are kind of floundering. I think the Vikings at home, they always play well at home. And they're really kind of ball controlling the offense with the running game, keeps their defense very, alert and not tired. So, fresh is the word I was looking for. So I really like the Vikings against the Cowboys next week. I think it's a really good play. So I hope you guys are having a great fantasy football. If you want one-on-one advice, you can actually go into my website. It's Fantasy Football RSVP.com. Sorry, fantasyfootballrsvp.com. You pay $7.77. It's like less than $2 a week, and you actually can speak to me live on Zoom. You can send me your roster once a week. Go over your roster by email, and I could actually come up with some trade ideas for you, so on and so forth. It's no problem. I can do it in my sleep, and you become part of the Fantasy Football Knights and Dames Fantasy Football VIP Club, which is a great club to belong to, and you get part of our fantasy football chat room on Facebook, talk to other fantasy football players, and you become part of it. It supports the channel too. It supports the channel too. For $7.70, you support the channel. Well, that's great advice, coming at you. And this week, at the second half of the season, I start making a lot of private videos. Going into deep, I basically read off the waiver wire list and go through every player on defense, every player on tight end. I just run down a list and go, oh, this guy, blah, blah, this guy, this guy. and stuff like that. And I do a lot of these extra things. I go over trade targets. That this guy's a buy low, this guy's a sell high, and I really go in. That's all private videos. Okay, $7.70. It's nothing. Okay, you get part of something, get part of the club. Fantasy a VIP club, by the way, the VIP club, the Fantasy Football Knights and Dames Fantasy Football Club, and you just go on Fantasy Football RSVP. It's right there. F Football RSVP on Twitter. F Football RSVP on Twitter. Instagram Fantasy Football RSVP.com. Podcast everywhere, and we are finally we are a top and trending show on Messy.fm. We're their top show right now. So, and that's very exciting to say that. It's very, very exciting to say that. And you could also go on YouTube, Fantasy Football, RSVP.com, and subscribe and be part of that. So I want to wish everyone the best. There's going to be a lot of videos, a lot of information coming along all over the place. I want to wish everyone the best. I want to wish everyone a great fantasy football week 11. You are going to win your league. I'm going to make sure you win your league. You're the best. You are awesome. Okay, and let's just have a great time together and win over our leagues. Okay, I'm Dean Curry, Fantasy Football. So have yourself a wonderful day.